Good evening, everyone. So I think we are good to start, and hope everyone are seeing my screen, right? Okay. All right. Revising the yesterday topics, we have been startup with cloud demo. We have discussed about cloud computing, the characteristics, the advantages, and the disadvantages. And we have tried to learn about various types of cloud services and different types of hybrid models. And we have tried to see about what is infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service, right? And we are trying to understand how it's going to be benefit when we are trying to have an on-premise structure and compared to the cloud environment, cloud virtualized environment. We have tried to see the benefits out of it. We have tried to see how a data center works on and what are the main elements which has been included inside the data center that helps in building up an infrastructure. So we are going to start up right now with Amazon Web Services because it is one of the cloud vendor who is trying to provide cloud services. Okay. So someone might have a doubt of PaaS, platform as a service. So platform as a service means where it gives, cloud vendor gives us a platform so that users or the clients, they'll be able to develop an application. So it will be mostly beneficial to developers. So like you might see an example like I can say it's kind of a terminal window and Beanstack, Elastic Beanstack, and such kind of an example. Even an example for PaaS is a kind of a Facebook as well. So what happens here, developers can create specific applications for the Facebook platform using proprietary APIs and make that application available to any Facebook users. So you people are aware, right? So you are trying to access a Facebook application. There should be some applications and add-ons which has been added to that. So those are considered as kind of a PaaS applications. Okay. So people who have missed out yesterday's class, as per LMS team and the demo which has been given yesterday, so please try to refer the recorded sessions, and that has been forwarded under the recorded sessions once you log into the LMS portal. Okay. Any other doubts on yesterday's session, guys? All right, so we'll start up with AWS. So as we have discussed, there are different cloud vendors who are trying to provide cloud services to the clients and the companies and the customers, right? So we have been trying to see there are major cloud vendors who are trying to provide these cloud services like compute services, storage services, network services, application services that has been provided by other companies. That is one of the most popular cloud vendor in currently market. That is nothing but Amazon. So Amazon, we can see it is actually, it's a platform where it is providing more than 200 fully furnished featured services from data centers. Okay. It is located all over the world and it's the world's most comprehensive cloud platform. And it's an online platform that provides scalable and cost-effective cloud computing solution. So it is actually broadly adopted cloud platform that offers several on-demand operations. On-demand operations means whenever there is a need, you will be able to log into the console and you'll be able to perform the operations like compute operations, the compute power, database, storage, content delivery, and networking to help the corporate companies, the startup companies scale and grow based on the need. Okay. So by definition, if you can see what is AWS, Amazon Web Service is the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud platform, offering over 200 fully featured services from data centers globally, right? So it includes the startup companies, larger enterprises, and leading government agencies. Like most of the government agencies, they are trying to have their infrastructure deployed in Amazon cloud environment and are using AWS. It's a bad from my bad. Actually, there seems to be an issue with my power. So I think I'm back up. Just a moment. Battery. All right. So we might have actually discussed yesterday about the data centers, correct? What is a data center? Data center is nothing but a physical locations where cloud vendor is trying to opt for that and trying to deploy their infrastructure and with along with the servers, networking and database servers and everything with infrastructure set up from their end over the world. And cloud vendor is trying to provide services out of those data centers, right? So in AWS, we had concept for the regions and availability zones. As for the screen, which you are trying to see now, you can see it is regions and availability zones. Okay. So what are the regions and availability zones? You can see a region is nothing but a locations where that particular data center has been located. Okay. Availability zone is nothing but a data center. How many data center has been deployed in that particular location, right? So on the right side, you can see the map. These are the locations where Amazon has opted for the data center. They has been completely deployed for the infrastructure. It has been located under the various locations across the globe. Okay. So we are calling that the term as region being the location and availability zone is nothing but a data center. So one location might have a different availability zones. You can see this is a region and inside that region, there are different data centers. For example, in India, so we have a different, it's kind of a location, right? In India, we have, it's a location that is nothing but a region. We have a different data centers. Where is the data centers are located for Amazon? In Mumbai, I have one data center. In Hyderabad, I have one data center. Maybe in the Bangalore, I have one data center. So those are, I'm trying to call that as an availability zones. Okay. Let us see the map on how it looks like.
There is a network issue at trainer end. So be in the session. We'll resume within 2 minutes. Guys, meanwhile, if you have any query or question regarding the LMS or certifications or anything, please drop in the chat box. People are raising hand. I request all of you, please drop in the chat box. After completion of the program, we'll upload the assignment in the LMS. I have didn't attended to class yesterday. No problem. You can go through recorded sessions. And guys, 60% attendance is mandatory. So please mark your attendance on a daily basis. You are Aju. It's only theory, or there is a hands-on experience also there. So don't worry. Yes, you can make attendance from today onwards. Not an issue. 60% attendance is mandatory. Guys, at sharp 8:30, we'll share the attendance link in YouTube as well as in Zoom chat box. So don't worry about that. If you have any query or question regarding to the LMS now, so I request you please drop an email on edl@excelr.com. I'm sharing that email in the chat box. Tirnak, please share in the YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. A recorded session, assignments, everything you will get at LMS. So guys, I request all of you visit LMS, and if you're facing any difficulty to access the LMS, please drop an email. Don't worry about the certifications. You will receive a certificate after completion of the program via registered email ID. So focus on you will receive. Don't worry about that. Vaishnavi is there from YouTube. Will there be a hours specified on the certificate? Yes, Vaishnavi. Hours will be there. Why sir it's not responding to my queries? I am asking too many doubts and he's not taking them. Animesh, who is not taking? Renuka, no need to registration again. You will receive an email within today or tomorrow. You will receive an email. I have attended past ExcelR classes, but I did not get the certificates. Guys, if you have any query regarding to the past certificates, please drop an email. Tirunal, Bala joined. Can you please give a co-host access?
Yeah, okay, I'm giving.
Yes, please. Guys, so we'll continue with the session now, and we'll hello. Yeah, Bala, you can go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Amar. It seems there was a sudden Windows update which made my system reboot.
Yeah,
I
no
just
problem. You can
sorry
go ahead.
for everyone. All right, let me quickly share my screen again. Let me quickly share my screen on the slide. Just a moment, please. All right, we are at regions and availability zones, correct? And we have tried to understand about discussion about the AWS cloud vendor, and we are trying to discuss about the data centers. So regions and availability zones by the name. So typically we are talking about data centers itself. So data centers are nothing but availability zones here. Region here is nothing but a location. Okay. So let's try to see how this data centers has been configured within the AWS. I'll just try to show you one slide, which will make us a good understanding over there. So you can see my screen. Okay. So it is AWS global infrastructure. You can see that. And this is the map where you can see across the world, this Amazon has deployed the data centers over these regions. You can see the green color, it indicates the regions. And the red color, it is saying that it is coming soon. It means they are trying to deploy the data center, which has been already deployed. That is all the green color regions across the world. You can see when I'm trying to highlight US West and Canada Central, Ohio, North Virginia. And here it has availability zones 4. It means 4 data centers within that locations. So soon AWS actually had a contract within Hyderabad as well. They are going to deploy a new data center in Hyderabad as well. Okay. Currently we had a primary data center which has been located in the Mumbai. Right. So it just gives us an information on the data centers as well. When we are trying to go inside, let us try to see what are regions and where it has been located. So you can see this complete infrastructure that has been deployed over North American region, South American, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia Pacific, Australia, and New Zealand. So these are abroad. And when we are trying to go with an Asia Pacific here, if I try to click here, you can see these are the places where it has been deployed. These are coming under Asia region, right? So you can see within the Asia Pacific, it has been in the Singapore, Hong Kong, Beijing, Tokyo, Osaka, and Jakarta, Mumbai, and Hyderabad. You can see that it is actually an implementation process. So these are nothing but data centers which they are trying to deploy, right? So these are the data centers which they are trying to manage the infrastructure to provide reliable and consistent services to the customers. So that's how it is trying to go up, right? So that is the concept for the regions and availability zones. Region is nothing but a location and availability zone is nothing but a data center. So within that region, there might be multiple data centers. I can say within that particular region, there are multiple data centers. You can see in the Asia Pacific region, we have 3 availability zones. That means there might be 3 data centers. In Asia Pacific, in Mumbai, you can see there are 3 availability zones. That means these are kind of a backup purpose. For example, if I'm in Hyderabad, I'm trying to connect and use the services within the Mumbai regions. So nearby availability zones that is trying to provide me the services. So these data centers will be configured at the edge locations. Edge locations means we are trying to get the services with a good bandwidth and a less throughput and less latency with the faster services within these 3 availability zones in that Mumbai region, right? So that's the concept of availability zones. Okay, so you can try to go through this website where I'm trying to, if you try to go to the Google and type the Google infrastructure, AWS global infrastructure, you'll try to see the information about the data centers and regions that has been deployed across the globe. So why this AWS is currently that much famous currently, and it's been reliable service that has been provided to the users. Because in 2006, I believe in the past, there is way back, no companies took risk and AWS took risk and occupied almost 40% of the market currently. Because it is trying to provide all the on-demand delivery of computers, database, storage, and applications and other IT resources through cloud services platform via the internet with pay-as-you-go service. Okay. And why it is so popular? It's because of its diversity, stability, and innovation in their services. So the kind of services they are trying to provide, and it's been consistent without any issues with the security, maintaining the security and concerning the customer data, and coming up with the new innovations every time across all the locations. Okay. And the others being the locations, as we can see, we have a different location that has been set up, right? So I think it's been different countries. We have trying to see availability regions and zones. That's when it's become one of the most popular cloud computing platform. Migrations. Migration is nothing but, for example, we had a startup company. For example, there is an XYZ company in one location and they are opting for a physical infrastructure. Okay. They are opting for a physical infrastructure. They just want to have a on-premise environment. So now they want to completely move their environment to the cloud environment because they are not ready to pay and spend so much cost and time and human factors for the physical environment. So now that XYZ company wants to move to the cloud. So what Amazon is trying to do, Amazon is trying to provide an efficient way to migrate all the data from on-premise environment to the cloud environment. That is nothing but, the term is nothing but a migration. Migration is nothing but whatever the data which has been deployed on-premise, like physical environment, physical infrastructure. So that's going to be transferred over the cloud environment. That is nothing but a migration. So that migration is going to be taken care by AWS itself. So that's kind of an efficient services that has been provided by AWS. Okay. And multi-region backups. What is a backup? As we are aware, everyone, actually every company or individual user, they are mostly concerned about security and their data. So for example, you might have a question like, where if I trying to store my data and in the cloud, what if there is a chances if data center is completely down? Will I lose my data? Is that possible? Okay. So what actually happens, the Amazon having an algorithm and security protocols, they are trying to have a backup from one data center to another data center. For example, you are actually opting the services which has been located by the nearest data center and you opted for the backup process. If there is any situations, for example, in a rare case scenarios, of course, Amazon is trying to provide a guarantee for 99.9% of availability. That much assurance they are trying to give us, and 99.9% of durability without the loss of data. So what Amazon is trying to do, even if there is an issue, like it a 1% chance of any loss of data, so the data from one data center can be completely migrated to the another data center. It's kind of, they are trying to have a backup mechanism. In that way, it is giving a confidence to entire clients and the companies so that data won't be never lost. Okay. So multi-region is nothing but your data can be transferred from one region to another region. So that kind of an feasibility Amazon is trying to provide. Right. And the scalability factor. What is scalability factor? As we have tried to learn yesterday on high traffic websites, when we are trying to load with the high traffic websites where we need to deploy more number of servers, more number of machines inside the cloud environment. So it doesn't require to again go and tell the cloud and trying to go and launch servers very quick, right? So what actually cloud is trying to do, it is trying to automate the process. It is trying to gauge the capacity, and it is trying to scale the environment. So based on the project requirement, based on the utilizations, the Amazon will be trying to take care of the scalability factor so that it won't affect the customer usage. It won't affect the websites. It won't affect the products, right? So in that way, so companies shouldn't be worried about their deployment of their infrastructure into the cloud. Got it? And one more characteristic, it includes the pricing model. As I told you, the pricing model is nothing but a pay-as-you-go service. So Amazon is coming up with a service. It is nothing but a pay-as-you-go service. Pay-as-you-go, it means whatever the services you are trying to utilize for whatever the time, you are trying to pay only that amount. And you are not paying the amount for the servers which has been deployed inside the cloud environment. Okay. So even the prices are very effective because based on your need, if you want to launch a server, whatever the time you spend on launching a server and trying to work on that, it will be charged on hourly basis. Okay. So you're not charging based on the server level. You're not charging based on the application deployment in that particular server, right? So whatever the time you're trying to work on the cloud environment, that's only then you're trying to be charged. Okay. So these are kind of a different kind of a characteristics and why we need to choose for AWS services. Any doubts on understanding? So someone had a question between relation between availability zone and region. So each region is kind of a separate geographical area. Okay. So it is kind of a location. Region, I can tell to say it is kind of a location where availability zones are multiple isolated data centers within that region. Okay. So, and as local zones are actually, it provides you ability to place resources. Resources means compute resources, storage resources in that particular data centers. Okay. Region is nothing but a location. Availability zone is nothing but a data center where this complete infrastructure is deployed. So you can see across different parts of the world, this complete infrastructure has been set up, correct? So Asia Pacific region, there has been different data centers has been set up. So in one region, there might be a different places where this infrastructure is completely deployed. Like servers, actually they have opted for a complete acres of land. They're trying to put servers, they're trying to put network devices, they're trying to put out all the security devices and maintenance. So that is where the data centers has been deployed. Okay. So migration is nothing but, for example, if there is a company, startup company, they had a private cloud environment. What is a private cloud? Yesterday we have learned about. Private cloud is nothing but rather than depending on public services, I'm trying to purchase servers, I'm trying to purchase the place, and I'm trying to purchase a data center room. I'm trying to give salaries to the person's human power, and they are going to maintain my 100 servers in single room. Like, you know, I can try to purchase 200 square feet room and trying to purchase a big racks and servers for my companies where it has a 500 employees. So going further, 1 year I'm trying to maintain the data center. That's fine. And once it is done, I doesn't want to spend much time on that and much money on that because it's been more cost effective for me. It is trying to have more cost burden on me so that I doesn't want to waste time on that. I doesn't want to spend my knowledge on maintaining the data center. At that time, what that service companies, what they are trying to do, startup companies, they want to completely transfer this exact setup, like same set of servers, applications, and complete network devices. They want to have a same kind of a setup virtually over the cloud. So they want to reduce the cost by going to the cloud environment. So what actually Amazon is trying to do, they are coming with a migration service. During the migration is nothing but a transfer of complete infrastructure from private environment to the public cloud environment. That's it. Okay. Scalability, it means it refers to the ability to increase or decreasing IT resources as required as per the project. What are the resources? Resources might be CPU, RAM, storage, and the networking aspects and everything, right? So if you are trying to have the application deployed in your cloud environment, for example, at some point you are required to increase the resources. For example, I'm being a developer. I developed an applications where my application is capable of handling 500 users. So for 500 users, I'm trying to pay amount for 100 servers in Amazon cloud. Okay. So if you're trying to do the same thing in a private environment, 100 servers, if at some point the count of the number of users are increasing 1,000 plus users. So at that time, you again need to start up from the scratch to deploy the infrastructure again. You need to purchase the server, install the application, and trying to deploy everything. But in the cloud, what happens? Once the cloud, the Amazon cloud is trying to detect that, hey, okay, this particular servers are actually going out of the capacity. So it will try to get an alarm. So with the help of some good algorithm concepts like elastic load balancer and auto scaling, what actually it is trying to do, it is trying to scale the resources. It is trying to scale the resources, means CPU, memory, and the storage and the networking and all the aspects like the database, everything will be scaled up so that within quick minutes, within the time, there won't be effect with the users. And it is trying to expand the resources without the burden of completely new infrastructure setup. So because everything is managed virtually, so that kind of a techniques and technology that AWS is trying to provide, that is nothing but a scalability service. Is it clear on the scalability part? All right. So this is how it looks like. The Amazon Web Services, how it looks like. You can have a glance. So these are the services. Once you try to log into the console, which you will be able to see. I'll show you where this will be looked into. Okay, I'll try to log into the console and you can try to see all the services in this page. So as I told you, the compute services is nothing but where you can try to deploy the virtual server environment, right? So here you can see Lambda, Elastic, Load Balancer, Amazon EC2. So I'll tell you about these terms soon when we are trying to come up with the coming classes, but you can see the main things. It is the Amazon cloud is trying to provide the compute services, storage services where you can try to store the data, and the network services like we just discussed about the network aspects like Wi-Fi, networks, routers, the switches and the firewalls. It comes under networking terms. And integrations. Integration, it comes under developing aspects where you can try to see Amazon API gateway and SQS. And this is the integration where you'll get a PaaS is a good example. Like within this platform as a service, this particular Amazon API and Beanstack and Lambda services. These are nothing but a platform as a service. Okay. And analytical tools where you will try to see the analytical data in real-time environment. And database. Database you might have aware, right? You might have heard of SQL, MySQL, and DynamoDB and RDS relational database systems. So database is nothing but a structured query language where you are trying to store the data in a structured query, in a structured format and unstructured format where it has to be stored somewhere. So this is kind of a database services even Amazon is trying to provide. And the management services, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and the cloud formations. It is nothing but an automations of the services where, as I told you, like the scalability factor, where Amazon is trying to monitor the performance of all the servers and the environment with these kind of a monitoring tools, where if there is if my computer had a high CPU, if my computer had a high memory and the storage, if it is trying to reach out about threshold value, it is trying to trigger an alarm to CloudWatch. So based on the CloudWatch logs, so a new server will be launched in the backend with an automation performed by AWS itself. Okay. So these are kind of an AWS services which you are trying to see it. So let me try to log into the console. We'll try to show you how it is going to work out. Okay. So you can see the top companies using AWS Cloud currently, as we have discussed, for the content applications, TV shows and the movies or the original content and the video streaming devices, where these are the partners where it has been registered with Amazon itself. And as I told you yesterday, the Netflix being the one of the primary customers for the Netflix, where they're trying to opt for these services, like, the storage services, because all the storage, all the videos and all the data which has been provided, which has been actually required to be uploaded from the Netflix, that is going to be performed in storage service in S3, right? So within that S3, it is nothing but a storage, simple storage service where this data has been loaded to. And the distribution services as well, you can see Netflix Open Connect, global CDN partners, and it's kind of a gaming companies as well. And the playback devices, 200 plus devices, Roku, Apple TV, smart TVs, iOS device, Androids, gaming consoles, PCs, etc. So these kind of sample examples where Amazon is trying to provide cloud services to these particular customers. Okay. So if you try to go inside the compute services, these are the terms which you can try to look into: EC2, Lambda, the compute services, security, identity and access services, AWS identity access management, and the storage services, that is nothing but Amazon S3, Elastic File Storage, Elastic Block Storage, the database services, the networking and content delivery services, and the management and the government services, where you can try to monitor the logs and the events of particular server environment, and the cost management, like whatever the time and the usage you spend, that you will be able to monitor all the logs within the graph in the cloud billing dashboard, right? So these are kind of a different services which I'm trying to show you directly now. So 3 ways to interact with an AWS. How you are able to connect with an AWS? You need a proper internet, and you need an AWS free tier account where you can try to log into the Amazon console, and then you can try to launch the infrastructure. Okay. It is kind of an easy to use graphical interface, and it also can be launched through command line interface, AWS CLI. Command line interface is nothing but with the help of a bash script or the PowerShell script, you will be able to log into the AWS console. And the software development kits, it's for developers who would like to interact with an AWS. Even the AWS will be interactable with the software development kits. It might be mostly useful for the developers. Access services directly from your code, such as Java, Python, and others. So different types of development platforms, you'll be able to log into the consoles. Okay. So as I told you, it's a well architectured framework in terms of security, in terms of operational excellence, in terms of reliability. Your data will be in a secure state with a storage providing into the across different parts of the cloud. Performance efficiency, because it does have a continuous monitor performance with an efficient tools that is provided by AWS. Cost optimizations with a feature like pay as you go service, right? It's kind of a well architectured framework where AWS is trying to provide to the customers or the companies. So I'll try to show you how to log into the console right now, so that we can try to launch a server as well today. So you can see this is the website, console.amazon.com. I'm trying to provide in the Zoom chat. This is where it helps us to log into the console. Okay. Quick. This is the website URL where you can try to log into the console and trying to register your account, and then we will be able to log in. Currently, it is not required from your end to do that, but whenever you had a time, and you just need to make sure it is about matters about the pricing level. Without the knowledge and understanding about the AWS cloud environment, please don't try to launch any servers or services within the cloud. So it does provide a free tier account. What is a free tier account? It is trying to provide 12 months of free tier account, so that you'll be able to register with your email ID provided by your card details. So once I try to click on sign into the console, you can see this. You can see there is an option with a create new AWS account. You just need to register with your email address, and you need to choose a name which you want to have a verification of email address. Once you click supply the email ID over there, you need to click on verify email address. So it is trying to send a code to your email, Gmail or application where you have registered, and you need to supply that code. Once you register that, it will ask for all the details like your personal informations, your full name, the last name, and the mail ID and the contact numbers. And initially it will ask for the payment. So you need to have an international credit card or international transaction enabled on the debit or the credit card, which you can try to input your details over here. That is for the verification purpose. So initially it will try to deduct around 2 to 3 rupees, and then it will try to quickly refund to your account, and then the account will be activated. Okay. So while trying to register for this account, you need to have any credit or debit card. It should be Master or Visa that should have an international transaction enabled. So it is trying to provide 12 months of free tier account. Okay. Show you how it is that. So you can see this is about the free tier account details. It is trying to provide you the 12 months free. And within that period, you can try to practice your services. You can try to launch infrastructure based on the pricing models. Within that, actually services, there are different services. You need to understand the technicalities on which services to use, like which servers to launch, like a free tier services. So without that knowledge, we are not supposed to launch. Otherwise, if there are charges, that will be incurred directly to your credit card and the debit card. So please don't try to do that. So once I'm trying to able to do that, maybe within understanding, once you create the account, you should do the same exact things which I'm trying to tell you in the class session. Okay. These free tier offers do not automatically expire at the end of your 12 months AWS free tier term, but are available for both existing and new account customers indefinitely. So you can see it is trying to provide 750 hours of EC2. It means server hours. You can try to practice, and 5 GB of storage and 750 hours of database storage. And you can see one Amazon SNS 1 million requests. It's kind of a, these kind of a infrastructure services they are trying to provide for free for first 1 year. Okay. So you'll try to come up and understand more on these services, on how you can efficiently use these services so that it doesn't create any charges for you, right? So I had an experience because I can try to log in and try to practice and show you the labs now. But without knowledge, if you try to log in, it will be incurring the charges. Okay. Once you go through the classes, you'll be understanding of what are the free tiers account. Okay. So once I try to click on the console at Amazon, I've already created an email ID. You can see I'm trying to log in with a root user account. Okay. I'm trying to click on the next. So I've created the password. I'm trying to log in that as well. So this is what the Amazon console looks like. See, this is how the console looks like. And as per the PPT, as I show you, where the different types of services, right? So these are the services where you can see that. Analytical services, like, analytical data, the processing, and the QuickSight, Redshift, and these are kind of a cloud search. And the integration services, simple queue services, workflow service, application service, and AR and virtual reality, 3D applications deployment, and the blockchain, business applications, compute services, like, deployment of virtual servers. We can try to deploy virtual servers rather than the physical computers at our physical environment, on-premise environment. We can try to deploy the virtual servers or the cloud environment. That is happening with the EC2. And we have a different services like Lambda as well. And Lightsail outputs and the containers, it's kind of a developing things. Database services, DynamoDB, relational database systems, non-relational database systems, developer tools. The people who are developers, they can try to utilize these tools within the AWS cloud environment. and front-end mobile applications, game development applications, where we can try to deploy games for the people who had knowledge on the coding as well. And the IoT things, Internet of Things, where you can try to manage as well. RoboRunner, Greengrass, IoT events. You can try to go through these service descriptions over the internet to learn about what kind of a services it is trying to provide as well. And the machine learning language, these are kind of a services they are trying to provide. And management and the governance, where you can try to have a management tools where you can try to manage over here. And the media services. Media services is nothing but a streaming videos and kind of a Kindles and the media conversion protocols with the different formats. Those kind of a video streaming device it's been provided. Migration services, as I told you, the data migration services, these are kind of a things. AWS main migration hub, Snow family. So there is a service called Snowball where you can try to that particular device being sent to the on-premise environment to the customers. So on-premise environment, it's kind of a hard disk. It's kind of a big level hard disk that has been sent to the users. So data will be uploaded to that particular Snowball. It is kind of a big hard disk. And then that will be transferred to the AWS data center. And then data will be uploaded to the cloud environment. That is one kind of a technology. We'll try to see in that soon, like understanding. So networking services. You can see API, Gateway, AWS, Private, Route 53, DNS services, VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. It does have a routing, switchings, and firewall concepts over there. And robotics, satellites, and identity and compliance, identity access management. You can try to create users, groups, and the roles within the AWS environment. And the storage services, simple storage services, backup services, and how your data can be stored and how securely you can try to input the data into the cloud environment. These are kind of a different life of services. Okay. So you can try to have a free tier account created once you logged in, and then you'll be able to see the console. And you can see this is my account ID. For each account you created with your linked with an account ID, this is your persistent account ID. It won't be changed. This is your account ID where it will be logged into your account, right? Now we have discussed about regions and the locations, correct? Regions and the availability zones. So where we can try to see that. So for example, you can see if I try to click on the draw, the regions and the availability zones will appear on the right side. It is trying to load up. You can see these many data centers in the regions where this infrastructure has been deployed. You can see US East, North Virginia, Ohio, California, Oregon, Mumbai, Osaka, Seoul, Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo. These are kind of a Europe countries, North countries, Asia countries, where you can see this infrastructure where AWS has been deployed. For now, once I try to log into the console, if I want to select the region, I can try to select to the different region and start using the services from there. So I'll try to get the services from that location. You can see these are the services which has been located in the Mumbai region. If I'm trying to locate with an Oregon region, I'm trying to get the services configured under the Oregon region. So I'm trying to utilize these services where these services deployed in that Oregon data center region, correct? So for example, if I'm trying to be in Mumbai, I'm trying to go in Mumbai, and you can see within the Mumbai, you can see on the right side, AP South 1. What is AP South 1? This is nothing but a zone. So how it will be look one AP-South-1, AP-South-1AB, AP-South-1C. So these are kind of a different data centers located in that particular region. Okay, even here, it does have a different locations and the regions. These are kind of a locations, right? So we'll have a different regions based on the selections we are trying to choose. So you might have a doubt how I can try to choose the locations and the regions. So based on the nearest locations and where I'm trying to get a good reliable services, like, the bandwidth with a less latency. Latency means network connection with a good bandwidth, and the type of services. Because if I'm trying to be nearby in India, then I'm good to opt for the Mumbai locations because I'm having a confidence that it's nearby my location where I'm trying to stay in the Mumbai. So within the India region, I'm trying to utilize the services for a good, reliable services. So in the same way, the nearby countries, the people who want to select the different location, they can try to opt for the services. Okay. So this is how it looks like. So I'm trying to select Asia specific Mumbai location, AP South 1, correct? Let us try to see how many data and zones will be available in AP Pacific Mumbai locations. Okay, let us try to search that. I try to see availability zones. Yeah, Hyderabad, it is good, going to be soon coming up. They are trying to plan for the complete deployment. It takes time actually. It is trying to display in the chart. It has been officially confirmed, but it is trying to take time. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe. So I'll go to Asia Pacific. In the Mumbai region, you can see availability zones as 3, right? So this will be AP-South-1A. So there will be another 2 zones will be AP-South 1B, 1C. Okay, it will be followed in that fashion. So whenever we had an issue in terms of disaster recovery on atmospheric conditions, if there is an issue with one data center, the data in this particular zone, that will be safely backed up to the other data centers. So that kind of a background backup security features will be taken care by Amazon. Okay. So that's about the console and the usage and how it looks like about the selections of region. I'm selecting the Mumbai region with my account. So let us try to concentrate on launching a server from our end. Okay. So you can see there is an EC2 server here. Like, the compute service. Compute service is nothing but where you can try to build a virtual server and the services within that compute services. Within that, EC2 is one kind of a service where it is trying to provide virtual service in the cloud. When I'm trying to click on the EC2, it will be trying to give us an options for dashboard. You will try to understand these terms when we try to quickly go through the further classes. You can see here, I can try to launch a virtual server. You might have an aware, right? Right. Rather than trying to have a physical computer to set up, what are the things we are needed? We need to purchase a computer. We need to purchase and trying to look for the specifications like how much CPU it has and what are it's kind of a dual core and I-core and i4, i5, i6 generations, and how much CPU it does has, how much RAM it does have, how much graphic card it has, and how much storage you need to utilize. So that kind of things you need to analyze, and you need to purchase from the store vendor. You need to build and set up a computer. You need to install operating system. So you can analyze how much time it is trying to take up. So let us try to launch a quick server which is trying to have it deployed right away. Okay. So you can see the options called launch instance. When I'm clicking on launch instance, I'm clicking on launch instance. So it's just for a showcase purpose. So I'll tell you about later on these understanding on each topic for soon. So let us try to launch a virtual server from the console. Trying to take up for the VPC settings. Let us give us time. Okay, I'm trying to give a name as virtual Linux server. So here I'm trying to select a virtual operating system. Like you try to install CDs, right? Like while you try to purchase a computer and come at your home, you need to insert some CD or software either through pen drive or through a CD drive so that the software can be installed, the operating system. So these are different operating system. I'll show you soon. Let us try to use a quick. I'll just show you once I try to launch a sample server. I'll try to explain about the scenario soon. So I'm trying to give some settings to select that. So it looks like the virtual server over here. Let's see how it is trying to go up. It is in pending state, like having ready for the configurations to load with the operating system boot up process and everything. It is in running state now. Now I'm successfully able to launch Linux server. You can see how quick it is. When if you're trying to launch a server, I just try to supply some settings with the proper settings. Along with that, I'm quickly able to connect a Linux server. You people might have an idea on the Linux operating system as well. Someone is telling that my mic is off. Am I audible, right, everyone? Okay. So you can see if within that, actually, I'm trying to select that as a Linux operating system. I try to supply the operating system, virtual operating system as a Linux. You can see that that is a Linux machine. And once I try to supply the values, it quickly launched with a server over here. So I am trying to enter the comments with my, I'll just tell you about these basic comments once we try to go through further. I just want to show you on how the server looks like. So you can see within quick, very few minutes, I can try to launch a virtual server over here. This is nothing but a virtual server. I can try to install with the commands, whatever I could do. So it is actually possible within the quick minutes. Even I can try to deploy the website. I can try to deploy an application with the help of Linux server. So now we have tried to see the virtual Linux server, right? Now let me try to deploy a Windows server. As you people might have an already knowledge how our Windows operating system looks like, I'll tell you on how to connect a launcher Windows server. Okay. So let me try to give it as a name. It doesn't even took minutes, right? While launching a server. So that's efficient. That actually Amazon is trying to take care. Linux virtual. So I need to select Windows operating system. You can see it has been given operating system category. You remember how do we try to install the softwares at our computers with a CD or the pen drive? In the same way, I'm trying to use a technology called AMI, Amazon Machine Image. I'm trying to use a machine image within this particular environment to have that server deployed. Okay, I'm selecting AWS machine. I've just selected, yes, Windows server. And you see, for every server or for every environment, we need a network. So I'm trying to, I already had a pre-configured network which has been configured. You'll understanding on further classes how it has been done. Okay. I'm trying to click on launch instance. So it is trying to configure settings. It is trying to give me a virtual server now. View all instances. Let's see. It is pending. It is trying to load up. It is trying to go with the rooting process. I think it is coming into running state now. You can see it is within 1 minute, I believe. It came into running state. Let us try to connect the virtual Windows server. So what I could do, I'm trying to download the virtual client, and it is trying to give me a pop-up for the username and password. Let me try to do that. All right, it just gave me a pop-up. Publisher, unknown publisher, remote desktop, remote computer. I'm trying to connect this particular Windows server from my local machine. So I've downloaded the client. Okay. When I click on connect, it should ask me for the username and password. You can see. So by default, it is giving me the administrator of the username and the password, which is provided by here. Let me try to grab the password. So I need to have that key file. Let me try to see the key file quick. So this key folder, this key file will be uploaded by my end. I've downloaded my system before. When I'm trying to configure, I'm trying to find that. Okay, this is the password. And I'm trying to put that. Click on OK. Now I just put in the username and the password to connect the virtual Windows server. Okay. So it is trying to go on with asking me the confirmation. I click on yes. Now, do you see the blue screen on my screen? I hope everyone are seeing. It is a virtual server which has been launched within minutes rather than spending much time on the configurations when compared to the on-premise or physical infrastructure. It is a virtual server now. You're trying to see the virtual computer, I can say. So you people are seeing my screen, right? Like a server screen. My server is visible. No? You are seeing a blue color screen, right? I've tried to launch a server. You should be able to see that. Okay, good. Now you are seeing I'm having a Windows version server. That is a virtual server I quickly launched with the help of a cloud environment. It is kind of a compute services offered by Amazon, where I try to launch a virtual server. It is nothing but a virtual computer, I can say. You can see the Windows OS, and it is exactly similar like the computer where we are at our homes, where we are trying to virtually launch a server inside the cloud environment. It does have a file explorer, and the same as it is like the PCs where we are trying to deploy. You can see the local disk C drive and everything. It is not my system. It's a virtual server actually. You can see that. And you can see it has been given by default of 30 GB of local drive. Okay. So what all the other things we can verify? We can try to go to the task manager and see how much CPU cores and storage has been given. we can try to install any applications, exact operations, whatever we try to do at our home, like with our local computer. So in the similar way, you can try to install the applications with an internet provided to it. So let me try to access the internet if it is coming up. You can try to download the applications and you can try to install and you can try to write a code and everything you can try to be possible rather than trying to depend on the physical infrastructure. So it's slowly booting up. Not sure if it has Google as well. Let's see. It is trying to load with that thing. Should have a Google Chrome as well, maybe, or written at Edge. Let's see. You can see it got internet access where I can try to see the Google homepage as well, where you can try to browse within the server and trying to perform whatever the operations you want to do that. Okay. So when I'm trying to go to the task manager, let's see how much CPU and storage has been assigned. So currently it has been assigned with 1 core of CPU and 1 GB of memory. You can see that. So 1 core of CPU, 1 GB of memory with 30 GB of local hard disk. Correct? 30 GB of local hard disk with an internet access. So whatever the operations you want to do, you can try to perform within this virtual server. So that's how efficient and it's been quick enough to trying to launch a server within the cloud environment. Now, to have that specifications, what kind of a server and what are the configuration aspects, what are the things which is required to launch a server and trying to deploy infrastructure, that makes us a learning towards a session and coming classes. Okay. So this is how I can try to launch servers. I can try to launch Linux server and I also try to launch as Windows server. In the same way, I can try to have a different operating systems trying to launch within this cloud environment. I'll show you the different operating systems, what are they available over there. You can see if I try to go there. These are the different operating systems, Mac OS and Red Hat, Linux Enterprise, SUSE, Ubuntu, Microsoft, and Debian. It's kind of a Linux proprietary. And these are kind of an AWS operating systems. I'll tell you about the AMI's concept. So these are kind of a different operating systems where you can try to select and quickly launch within minutes. Got it? So that's how it looks like. So when I'm trying to go back to that particular EC2 concept where we try to launch a server, it is the instance where it has been launched. So this is where you can see, if I try to click on this particular server, you will see all the details of this particular server specifications. You will see the private IP address, the public IP address, and how much storage it has been allocated. I showed you, right? It has been allocated with 30 GB of storage, which has been attached to the server. And I think someone have asked about the scalability. If I want to increase the storage within right now, currently, I can try to quickly add a storage over here right away. So that's how it's going to be helpful, correct? So it's efficient on how quickly we can try to do that, including the monitoring as well. So if I try to go there, the security details and the status checks, this is how the console looks like, where status checks are nothing but when you're trying to launch any server, it is trying to pass on some status checks over here, like progress, running, and stop, and fail. So it has to pass these two system status checks and the instance status checks. System status checks is nothing but within the server, if it is trying to launch, it will try to do a background checks. Instance status checks means outside of your system, if that the internet is connected to that particular instance, it is trying to perform the instance status checks. If you pass these both status checks only, you'll be able to run the server by seeing the running status. Okay. So that's how about the launching the server now. And we'll try to understand the configurations and what are the different options which are available to launch the servers and what are the technicalities we need to follow. That we'll try to understand by based on, going further with the slides and continuous practice with the lab sessions as well. Any doubts on launching the servers and understanding, like seeing these virtual machines right away? You can see I've tried to launch the server now. Any doubts? So as I told you, these are the different types of services like database services, storage services, networking services, where you will have an IP address, public IP address, and the routing rules, the virtual private cloud, and the switching concepts and the firewall concept. Everything will be in the VPCs, networking concepts, right? And the identity access management. As I told you, we can try to create users groups within that AWS console to launch the servers. Okay. So what are the things today we have learned about that particular launching? Cloud architecture and evaluations and the characteristics of AWS services, best practices for building solutions on AWS, and how to make informed decisions on where to place AWS resources. Like I've told you about the availability zones and regions, right? Which is the effective way to choose that and how efficiently you can try to place that infrastructure with pay-as-you-go service model. Okay. So let us try to go with EC2 concept. And we'll try to see how the launching servers and what are the different configuration we are trying to go on when we are trying to launch a service. So we are typically going through AWS sessions while launching the server, which will help you to launch a virtual server from your end as well. Okay. We'll try to see the different options now. Let me open another slide. Any doubts on understanding of AWS characteristics and services description with an availability zones and launching servers? We are going to learn about more on technical aspects further. Any doubts? Okay, let me try to share. I think you are able to see my screen, right? So we'll try to go through more about the compute services, that is module the second, and where we are trying to understand about the compute options, where we are trying to launch a virtual servers, right? We'll try to understand more configuration aspects within the compute services. Okay. The object of the compute services to identify how Amazon Cloud Compute Service can be used as an architecture. Explaining the value of using Amazon machine images to accelerate creation and repairability of infrastructure. Differentiating between the different EC2 instance type. EC2 instance means like servers, different server types. Recognizing on how to configure Amazon EC2 instance with user data. So whatever the data we are trying to supply to launch a server, that we are trying to understand, like configurations. Recognizing storage solutions for Amazon EC2 and how efficiently we can try to store the data within this Amazon computing services. Describing EC2 pricing options. Describing the placement group for architecture configuration and launching an Amazon EC2 instance. Okay. So by learning all these technicalities, we're trying to launch an Amazon EC2. I've tried to launch it now. So you'll be able to understand more when we try to go through understanding the technicalities. Okay. So what is adding compute with EC2? Amazon EC2 provides reliable, resizable compute capacity within the cloud. It provides virtual machines, the servers. It can provision servers in minutes that we have already done now. It can automatically scale capacity up and down as needed with an automation options. It enables you to pay only for the capacity that you use. Okay. So what actually happens when I'm trying to launch server? So you can see the server which has been launched with a 1 core CPU, 1 core RAM with a storage cost of around, how much is the thing? 30 GB of storage, right? We have used for the storage for this particular server. So I'm keeping the server up with this running status. So based on this running status, if I'm trying to run this server for at least 30 minutes or 1 hour, based on that 1 hour charges only, it is trying to charge me. It is not trying to charge me for the server. It is not trying to charge me for the RAM, CPU, and the storage. It is trying to charge me on what kind of a server which I'm trying to use and how much time I'm trying to run. That's what it is mentioning in the slide as well. Okay. Let me show them. Yes. So it can automatically scale capacity up and down as needed. You can try to increase the specifications. You can try to increase the RAM. You can try to increase and storage and the CPU, and also you can try to decrease the capacity. That's how it is trying to benefit. Okay. And it enables you to pay only for the capacity that you use. As I told you, the time and the process where you're trying to use that particular server, only for that time only you'll be charged, not for the server specifications you are going to be charged. So that's how the benefit. So someone might have any questions. Yes, actually, while we are I'm trying to do a lab session, right? That is kind of a project coming soon. So once you're understanding the concept, you'll be able to understand the project requirements. So in the same way, if Amazon is trying to provide these kind of a services, like Microsoft, Azure, and the Google also providing the same kind of a technologies with the different names. Like you can see, this is kind of a compute service. In Azure, it might be with a different naming convention. But the backend technology of launching a server is same again. You are trying to launch the server within minutes and the same. The background technology is same and the technicalities will be same. You need to supply the values, the operating system, and everything. That concept is same, but the naming convention in different cloud vendors is different. Okay. So primarily we are trying to concentrate on AWS specific because AWS being one of the consistent and most reliable and popular model. So we are trying to concentrating within this time period, like within these 10 days, within 2 hours of time duration. Let us trying to contribute more on AWS itself so that you'll get a clear understanding with one cloud vendor. So we'll try to go with a basic level understanding of Google Cloud Platform and Azure. Okay. And Amazon EC2 is a virtual machine that runs on the physical host. You can choose different configuration of CPU and memory capacity, and it supports different storage options. Instant storage, elastic block storage. It provides network connectivity. So what is meant by different configuration of CPU? As I told you, you can try to scale the capacity. If you can want to have a CPU cores to be increased, like 2 core CPU, 3 core CPU, 4 core CPU. Based on that, you are trying to select the different instance types. Okay. And you can try to store your data within different storage level options. Like instant storage level options, we had Amazon Elastic Block Storage. So here you can see the storage which I have opted here, like a C drive, it has a 30 GB of storage. You can see that. Okay. When I'm going to the console, it is storage, it is having 30 GB of storage. Where it has been occupied there, you can see the elastic block storage. If I go to the volumes, it is kind of a virtual hard disk. Okay. By default, it is attached with a virtual hard disk with a 30 GB of storage. If you want to increase the storage, you can try to do that. And whatever the capacity you want to increase based on the requirement and the projects, you can try to increase the storage as per the need. So that's what it is trying to mention as well. And it provides the network connectivity. As I told you, for launching of any server in any environment, in the cloud environment, it needs a network connectivity. For example, even at your home, if you're trying to launch a computer, it needs a network connectivity, right? So the internet is needed. So the network connectivity is needed. So IP address is needed. So the IP address connectivity and everything will be managed by the networking aspects. You can see, if I try to go back to the instance is nothing but a server. The term instance within this AWS is nothing but a server. When I'm trying to click on this, here you can see the network. Here it has been given the private IP address and the public IP address. So we will try to understand more understanding on what is the difference between private and public. Private IP address is for the internal purpose, and the public where you can try to connect to the computer, and the public IP address is nothing but to have an internet connectivity. Okay. These private and public IP has been provided with the network concept over here. You can see this network concept here, public IP address, the private IP address, everything will be seen here. So when we are trying to go with the VPC classes, the basic level, we'll go through and understanding more on that. Okay. Anyone having a questions, try to put rather than the direct message, you can try to put as a public message. Okay. So that other can also see that. So someone had a doubt, if you write a code and run it successfully, how can I get my code on my computer and save it? So if you had a code, you need to make this particular Windows server up and running and trying to install the software applications and trying to write a code and save it in the particular virtual machine. And you can try to have that backup in this particular drives, and it will be saved. And this particular data will be saved in this particular elastic block storage. That is 30 GB of storage. Okay. So if you want to increase the storage, you can try to increase the maximum storage and based on the free tier account. As I told you, as part of free tier account, how much storage you can try to see. Let me try to see that. Free storage. EBS storage available under free tier account. For example, if you want to practice any projects under the free tier account, you can see that. Okay. Under AWS free tier account. Let us trying to see how much storage I can try to utilize. AWS free tier includes 30 GB of storage and 2 million of input outputs and 1 GB of snapshot storage with Amazon block storage. Okay. Let us try to see. If I go to the storage, I can always try to whatever, if under the free tier account, if I want to understand about how much free tier storage, how much servers I can try to launch, everything I can try to see this. If I go with the storage option here, you can see it is trying to provide 12 months of free Amazon Elastic Block Storage. 30 GB of storage is provided by Amazon within this 1 year, 12 months. Okay, 30 GB of storage. I can try to open this. You will see the different types of storage. This is a free tier account characteristics for this Amazon Elastic Block Storage. Okay. Now use cases. Use Amazon EC2 when you need. Complete control of your computing resources, including operating system and the processor type. As I told you, we can try to have these computer resources be selected with an operating system and the processor type, like what kind of a processor you need. For example, the processor which I'm trying to select here, that details can be visible over the console level. You can see. I've just selected with a T2.micro where it has 1 core CPU and 1 core RAM with a 30 GB of storage. So you can try to select that. And optimize for optimizing your compute costs, on-demand instances, reserved instances, and spot instances. So it is trying to provide different set of instances. So on-demand instances means whenever you're trying to launch a server quick based on your requirement, that is nothing but an on-demand instances. Okay. So reserved instances means you will try to reserve those instances like for a contract basis, like 1 year contract and 3 years contract. So you can try to purchase these instances from the Amazon cloud so that it will be permanently reserved to you. On demand means whenever I'm trying to, as part of practice, I try to quickly launch and then try to click the shutdown. So this instance will be gone. When I'm trying to launch a new server, again, I'll get a new server launch with the new details. Okay. So we have a different instances with the different types of a cost level, ability to run and type of workload. For example, these servers can be launched, and you can see Amazon EC2 servers can be launched with an web servers, application servers, database servers, media servers, and anything, whatever we are trying to deploy within the cloud environment. How these servers are going to be helpful? We can try to deploy sample websites, enterprise applications, high performance compute applications, correct? So for various purposes, these EC2 servers are helpful. Now, you can see I've tried to launch a server within the console. I'm trying to successfully able to launch a server. You can see this, right? So to launch a server, what are the main components we are needed? Because as I had a knowledge, I could quickly deploy that. But to understand the technicalities, what are the different components are needed? First component, whenever you want to learn, yes, we can turn off the server. Simply, I can try to go to the console. I can try to click on stop. You can see my server will be stop state. You can see. If I try to quickly run, I can try to click on start instance. It will be running state. It takes time. See, my server got shut down now. Okay. And what are the key components which are needed? When you're trying to launch a server, virtual server, operating system is needed, right? That is nothing but an AMI, Amazon Machine Image. And you need to select which instance type. What are the different instance type you would like to select? So instance type means the instance type I've selected for this particular server, you can see T2.micro. T2.micro, it has a different specifications like 1 core CPU and 1 core RAM, correct? So that kind of a specifications you need to select. And VPC. VPC is nothing but a network aspects. For launching of any computer or any server, even in the physical environment, you need network aspects. So VPC is needed. And roles is nothing but it's kind of a user level permissions you want to launch the data. And what is the user data? User data is something we are trying to launch a server with some kind of a commands. Maybe when I'm trying to launch an Linux server, I'm trying to input some commands to launch an data which I'm trying to supply to the server. That kind of a user data you can try to supply. Okay. And the storage, how much storage we are trying to utilize, like 30 GB for Windows server and 8 GB for Linux server. How much storage which has been allocated for Linux server? You can see it is 8 GB. When I'm trying to select all the operating systems while launching the instance, I've selected the 8 GB storage, right? And the security groups. Security groups is nothing but a firewalls. It is nothing but a port. When I'm trying to connect from my outside of my machine, so these security groups to be enabled within the server, that you will be trying to see inside the security groups over here. You can see the security, TCP, IDP port, HTTP port, HTTPS port. We'll try to learn more about the security groups in further sessions, which will help us to connect outside from local system. We can try to connect virtually over the cloud environment. So key pairs. Key pair is nothing but an authentications. We can try to set up username and password, right? So that username and password requires a key pair. So key pair will be supplied by AWS itself. So once you try to supply those things, so once key pair is downloaded, you remember I tried to launch a server, Windows server, I supplied username and password. So that username and passwords are supplied and stored within the key pairs. You can see the options called key pairs over here. So this is the key which has been given by AWS Amazon. Once I try to supply this particular public key, it will generate a password for me. So key pair is kind of an authentication where you want to launch a server. Okay. So we'll slowly understanding about these technicalities, like each term one by one, slowly going through and understanding how it is trying to helpful for launching a server. Okay. So as I told you, the primary thing, once we try to launch a server, the primary thing we try to do that is to select the operating system. Even when we try to purchase an computer, assembled computer at our home, we need to give a software. Like what is a software? That is nothing but an operating system. So that kind of a software it has been virtually told by Amazon. It is nothing but an Amazon machine image. The operating system, we are calling that as a machine image within the cloud environment. That is nothing but an AMI. An AMI provides information that is needed to launch an instance, including a template for the root volume. Template means it's kind of an image, software image. And the launch permissions controls which AWS accounts can access the AMI, like who can access that particular software. Okay. And specify any storage volumes to attach to the instance. You can see I've attached that 30 GB and 8 GB of storage, right? So that kind of a storage options that can be selected for this particular Amazon machine image. Okay. So you can try to select different Amazon machine images as required. So how this AMIs is going to be benefit for us? So an Amazon machine image can be used repeatedly to launch instance with efficiency and precision. Okay. So you can try to launch n number of servers, hundreds of servers as required with efficiency within very quick minutes with the reliable options. Precision means you can try to select the required options. The Amazon cloud environment will provide you the options to select and try to launch as needed. Reusability. Instance launched from the same AMIs are identifiably configured. So if you're trying to use one AMI, the same AMI can be used with a different server as well. So you can try to save all the settings within that Amazon machine image. That's kind of one kind of a benefit. You can create an AMI from a configured instances as a restorable backup. It means you can try to save this AMI, this particular virtual software image as a backup and trying to have a restorable backup. You can replace a failed instance by launching a new instance from the same AMI. So if any instance has been not launched, you can try to use the previous AMI to launch that server. Okay. So we are trying to complete an understanding on AMIs. So what is the best practice to choose the AMIs? Amazon machine image. Choose an Amazon machine image based on the region. We can try to choose an operating system like Microsoft Windows or Linux, right? So based on the region, we can try to choose that. And the storage type of the root device, architecture and the virtualization type. So what are these things? We'll try to see that virtually over here. If I go to instances, if I try to launch a new instance, for example, we'll try to understanding on AMIs here. You can see this is application and operating system images, and AMI is a template that contains the software configurations like operating systems, application server, and applications required to launch an instance. Search for browse AMIs if you don't see what you're looking for below. As I told you, operating system is nothing but a virtual image. It is nothing but an operating system is an AMI where it is loaded with all the pre-configured settings. So you doesn't require to worry about CPU configurations and the different type of set of applications, what kind of a drivers it had, what kind of a software it had, and everything. So everything will be provided with this particular single click on the image, right? You can see that. And it just loaded with an operating systems, application servers, and applications. When I'm trying to come up these options, I click on the browse more options. You can see there are different AMIs which has been located here. And on the left side, you can see Linux operating systems, Windows operating systems. Now it is trying to tell based on which aspect we can try to choose the architecture and the virtualization type. So the architecture is based on the 64-bit ARM processor, 32-bit 86 ARM processor, the Mac bit 64. Mac is for iOS, right? So this kind of an operating system with an architecture you can try to select. So for example, you can see if I try to select all Windows, I'll try to select all the Windows level operating systems. For example, this is Microsoft Windows 2019 version with a platform Windows and 64-bit ARM processor. When I'm trying to come here, this is a Microsoft Windows 2022 latest version with SQL 2022 Server Enterprise version. Okay, this has a pre-configured SQL Server operating system installed. That's why it is telling pre-configured operating system selection. Now there are different as well with the different SQL versions over there. And Microsoft Visual 2022 R2 with Microsoft Visual Studio Enterprise 2022. So people who need Microsoft Visual Studio, they can try to utilize this Visual Studio. Okay. And Microsoft Windows R2 with Office Professional, Microsoft Office. It has been installed with Microsoft application. If you select this, you will get a server launched with this particular Amazon machine image and then with a Microsoft Office Professional Plus software as well. So see how efficient this cloud is providing these options for us, correct? So you can see these are the machine images provided by Amazon, and you always need to make make sure and keep it in mind that always you need to use free tier only. Whatever the services we are trying to see the servers under free tier eligible, you won't be chargeable. If you doesn't try to opt for the free tier and trying to launch any other service, you'll be chargeable and it will deduct money. Just please try to use that only free tier account whenever you're trying to practice for any project. It doesn't have a free tier option, correct? These servers. So I'm not trying to use that. I'm trying to launch the server only with the options with the free tier eligibility because I got a 12 months of subscription. So I need to use only free tier options for this. So I'll try to click on free tier and then trying to use that. My AMIs. What is my AMIs? If any Amazon machine image created by me with a settings, like, for example, I'm being in a project where I try to practice, right? Where I've tried to launch a Linux and Windows server just before. So whatever the options and configuration which has been stored in this particular server, I'm trying to save that. In this Windows server, I'm trying to install the application and the storage and the data. So this has been started, right? So it started. So when I'm trying to start it, so whatever the work which I'm pending work which is there, I want to save this particular operating system machine image. Then I can try to save that from here and that machine image will be appeared by here. You can see it is created by me. When you're going with an AWS work marketplaces, it is trying to provide you third-party operating systems. You can see the Microsoft, Red Hat, CentOS. These are different third-party software OS. And community AMIs. Community AMIs is like anyone can try to upload any project related, like verified provider. You can see if I am an Amazon account verified provider, I'm trying to work on something and I'm trying to load my software inside the AWS. So it is nothing but a community members who can try to post. It can be published by anyone. That software AMI can be loaded over here. You can see deep learning, GPU touch, and Windows Server English core base versions. This has a different, based on your project requirements, based on the application, the purpose you're trying to do, you can try to select different operating systems from out of these options. Okay. This is all about AMIs, and you can try to launch the servers by selecting the free tier options, by selecting the requirement Windows Server operating systems or Linux Server operating system. Okay. This is all about AMIs. Any doubts on AMIs? Any doubts on AMIs? Either debit or credit card, and you can try to utilize, and it should have an international transaction, enabled. Okay. So while registering the free tier account, just make sure you do that. So we are done with Amazon machine image concepts. Now we'll try to see the life cycle. Now you can see the server which I'm trying to launch, it is trying to go with a progress, start, stop, and a reboot and everything, right? What is the life cycle of that particular instance, like a server? When you try to select the operating system, it will try to quickly launch and will try to go with a pending status. Okay. Once it is going to the pending status, it will try to have that in a running status after 2 minutes. When it is going to running status, once it is trying to pass on with the system status checks, you can see this status checks has to be passed on. So once this is passed on, you will be able to see this is a running state and then the server will be launched. Correct? This status checks has to be processed. You can see now system checks has been passed. Now instance checking is passed, like, outside of the public world, how it can be connected. So instance status checks is pending. So that's what it is trying to refer here. So once it is running, I can try to either reboot, I can shut down, I can terminate. You can see that options here. Once it is running state, you can see the status checks has been start up here. Status checks passed, status check passed. I'm going to instance state. I can stop the instance. I can try to reboot the instance. I can terminate the instance. Stop the instance means it will temporarily stop the server. Reboot this instance means it will temporarily reboot the server. Terminate instance means entire server will be deleted. Even the data will be deleted. If you don't take a backup, complete data will be deleted from the server level. Okay. And you can see this life cycle, how it happens. Running, reboot, and termination. And stopping and stopped, the start. It will, once you try to click on the reboot, it will again go to the hibernate mode. It will be stopped. Whenever you want to start, then it will try to go with the pending state and it will start again with this life cycle. Okay. This is all about the life cycle process of this particular running instance. And coming to the instance types, as I told you, there are different types of instance types where you can try to select. Like you can see, I've selected tutu.micro. So when I'm trying to go back, one step back, when I'm trying to launch the instance, you can see I've selected, given a name, test server. I'm trying to select the OS, free tier account, Amazon, Windows Server. Now I need to select the next option is being instance type. What instance type you need to select that? You can see there is an option called compare instance types. What are the instance types? You can see we have a different instance types located within this Amazon, like general purpose instance type, compute optimized instance types, memory optimized instance type, storage optimized, accelerator and compromised. General purpose means it will have a minimal specification with the CPU and RAM optimized. Compute optimized means you will have a good processor speed. Memory optimized means you will have a good memory. Storage optimized means you will have a good storage. Acceleration computing means you will have it is mostly graphical related. You will have a good acceleration, like, good level, high level processors. So that kind of a specification, you can try to choose instance types. So when I'm trying to go there, you can see T1.micro, T2.micro, these are kind of a basic general purpose instances. Like it has a basic level, like 1 core CPU and 1 core, 1 GB of RAM, 2 GB of RAM, everything. And if you try to go with a higher level, it is increasing with T2.micro, you'll have a 2 core CPU and 1 GB of RAM. T3.2x large, it will have a 8 core CPU and 32 GB RAM. Based on your project requirement, you can try to do that. Okay. And it is compute optimized storages. You can try to see whatever the options you want to select, then you can try to select that. So if I try to go with this, EC2 instance types. When I'm trying to search for this, you will see a detailed information about instance types here. I'm trying to paste in the chat, where you can observe what is the purpose and how we can try to efficiently use these instance types. It is nothing but selecting the processor speed and the requirements. For example, when I'm trying to launch an instance, I'll always choose for the free tier account. You can see, because I doesn't want to get charged. So that's why whatever the options which I'm trying to get here, free tier, I'm trying to select that. You can see when I'm trying to scroll down, T2.micro free tier, I can use 1 core CPU and 1 GB RAM. And if I try to go with EC2 instance types under free tier account. So which instance I can try to select? Let us see. Under free tier account, what are the things has been provided? So as a free tier, as part of AWS, you can get started with Amazon EC2. This includes 750 hours of Linux and Windows, T2.micro instances, and T3.micro. Okay. And each month for 1 year. So you can use for every month, you'll get a 750 hours of T2.micro and T3.micro. What is T2.micro and T3.micro? We'll see that. If I go here, launch instance. So I can try to use only T2.micro, T3.micro as part of free tier. You can see this in your first year includes 750 hours of T2.micro or T3.micro under free tier and 30 GB of EBS storage, 2 million of snapshots and 100 GB of bandwidth. Okay. So when I'm trying to go here, see T2.micro having 1 core of CPU, 1 GB of RAM. And these are the different types of operating systems which is available. If I want to go with a little high specifications, I can go with T3.micro. Where is that? This is one. I think it is not under the free tier. Let me go there. Yes. So this one, this is available. You can see it is available with T2.micro instances. So I can try to select this one while practicing. And anything, if you are trying to go apart from that, these are all chargeable. So how it is chargeable? Based on the hourly basis, you will be chargeable. So it has been given specifications how many hours you are trying to launch the server, you will be chargeable. So better we need to be cautious on trying to choose this particular instances. Okay. So you can go through more understanding on these particular instances, and you can see the different types of instances over there. General purpose instances and computing optimized instance types. It is mostly useful for high level of gaming and servers and engines deployment. Memory optimized instances, it will have a good number of memory. You can see 16 GB of RAM and 4K of CPU and up to 12.5 of network gigabytes of bandwidth. So this kind of a thing. Storage optimized. You'll have a good storage number, good amount of storage. You can see it is trying to provide Nitro SSD. 1x375 AWS Nitro SSD storage. It's kind of a high level storage. It will be chargeable. So we just need to make sure. Okay. So these are kind of a different instance types based on the project requirements. You can try to choose that. So I'm just trying to let you know how this instance selection will be done. But as part of free tier account for a project practice, we always try to prefer T1.micro, T2.micro. We can see this free tier eligible heading. Always try to prefer that. We shouldn't go beyond that. Otherwise, it will be chargeable. Just be cautious on that. Okay. So that's about the instance type selections. Okay. So I think we are good with enough time with till now. Any doubts on understanding instance types? We are done with today's sessions on concepts with and practicing. We have tried to understanding about AMIs, instance types, and selections of cores, and how to launch a server, Linux and Windows servers. Any doubts till now? So we'll try to go with other aspects soon with the coming further topics, sessions, and the classes. Any doubts? Any questions? We'll try to practice more. We'll try to understand more aspects soon. Okay. So it's not like that. See, until the storage, whatever the storage, 30 GB of storage per month, AWS is providing, right? If you are crossing that more limit, then AWS will try to charge you the bill based on hourly basis. So we just need to make sure how efficiently you are trying to use the services within AWS. Okay. So you'll be able to do the projects once you understand each and every service on the completion of this particular courses when you opted for the courses registered within an ExcelR, if you would like to opt for that. Okay. Once you are efficient in all the services, as I told you, the compute, storage, networking, and services within one cloud platform, like any of Microsoft Azure, like AWS and Google platform, if you are confident enough that, you can try to have a projects practice over there. Any other queries? Once you go through this particular course and once you try to practice with a free tier account, you'll be able to do a projects from yourself and you'll get a good confidence and going through interviews and trying to crack and trying for the learning purpose and trying to do a projects in these virtual servers like cloud environments. So what I'm trying to do, I'm going to terminate these instances because I'm done with work. I cannot leave these servers as it is. So I have to terminate these servers. So because if I just keep running state, it will be chargeable. So I need to make sure I terminate. So tomorrow we'll try to launch server again with the knowledge we gained from the technicalities. Okay. Now at least we try to understand how to select AMI machine image, how to select the storage, and how to select the instance type, right? We'll try to see more aspects now tomorrow. And whatever we store, we are able to delete it from the server. It is same like, physical server which you had at the home. If you want to store, you can store. If you want to delete, you can delete. Now I'm trying to delete the servers. Now it has been shut down. My systems has been shut down. So there will be no more data. Okay. I have terminated the servers. See, the servers has been terminated successfully. This is all about the virtual server launch for today's session. If any data that has been stored in the virtual server, you can try to copy the data from virtual server to your local machine as well. Yes. Any other doubts? Hope everyone got understanding for today's session as well. And it's clear to you. And we are just slowly have to go, understanding by concept, otherwise it will be complicated. So that's why I'm trying to go with the root basics. Then you will get an understanding of complete how to go with that and opting for the different projects and the selections, everything by over the cloud environment. Okay. Any doubts? So actual work of AWS that can be learned only while trying to register going through any course, like rather than trying to, having that registered with the practice. If you're trying to opt a course within the ExcelR, you'll have a program for that, like a 40 or 45 days. So they'll be trying to provide you assistance with the projects and the assignments. Then you'll be able to gain some confidence, and then you'll be able to do a projects as well, so that you can easily learn. It needs some training and understanding. So in between, if you have any doubts, you are open to ask for the questions. I'm okay to answer for queries, okay? Any doubts further? You are able to understand the class, right? Is it getting slowly that basic level from the root level, right? Like how we are trying to go with a basic understanding from on-premise and how virtually we are trying to deploy the infrastructure. So slowly you'll be doing different types of projects in this way. Once you're good enough confident on understanding the base level, like whatever the theoretical understanding you learn from your education level, you're trying to implement that in a practical level in a real-time environment. So that's how this cloud will work on the cloud computing concepts. All right then. So thanks everyone. Have a great day. We'll meet up tomorrow.
Amar, can I end up the session?
Yes, Tirumati, you can end up the session.